What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of For the Love of Wrestling. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams. Happy Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Hope everybody is well rested. Hope everybody is ready for the chaos that is about to come this week. We have got so much in store for you, not just here on the Casa D18 Studios channel, but across the entirety of the Jeff Meacham Network multiverse of media this week. It is going to be, as they say over on the multiverse, knucking futs. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. And I want to go ahead and apologize in advance to any of my Impact fans out there. I watched Impact last night, about 8 o'clock at night, after only getting about 4 hours of sleep that night prior, Saturday going into Sunday, coming off the heels of open mic night, karaoke night. After working, after doing an hour and a half of the No DQ review, after doing an hour of the WrestleMania week hype show that we did across the multiverse. So I probably didn't pay as much attention as I should have to Impact, but I do have some notes here to go through to relay at least the gist of what happened. Impact kicked off this week with Dimeless Dana Brooke, Ash by Elegance to those of you that actually care about her. And she comes out and she says that she can't compete this week due to having lip filler. So she has a replacement, and she introduces Steph DeLander, who is returning to Impact. They never explicitly make it known if she's signed a contract with the company or what, but she's there. And this is what they do is called an 8-4-1 match. So it starts off as a 4-on-4 tag team match. Once a decision has been rendered in that match, the team with the person who got pinned gets eliminated, and the winning team, the 4 women, then turn into a fatal 4-way match. Last woman standing wins. Not elimination, first pinfall or submission to get the victory. So your teams are Steph DeLander, Rosemary, Danny Luna, and Zaya Brookside versus Alyssa Edwards, Jessica, Jody Threat, and Masha Slamovich. That was a very fun match. Definitely chaotic. It took me a little bit of a while before I realized who all was in there, because the only person who got an entrance was Ash by Elegance and then Steph DeLander. The other 7 women were already in the ring. So I didn't get introductions, didn't get names right off the top. I had to wait for tags to be made to kind of catch some of the people coming in. But again, it was a fun match. It was chaotic. Danny Luna scored a pin on Masha Slamovich for the 8-person portion of this. So then it turned into a fatal 4-way with Steph DeLander, Rosemary, Danny Luna, and Zaya Brookside. Again, every woman for themselves. Now, after the pinfall, Masha Slamovich attacks Danny Luna, so that effectively takes her out. Zaya Brookside gets thrown into Dimeless Dana Brooke sitting ringside, and that takes her out. Then all of a sudden, Matt Cardona out of nowhere runs in, hits radio silence onto Rosemary, allowing Steph DeLander to get the pin. For those of you that don't follow Cardona, this may sound incredibly random, but Cardona and DeLander do work together quite extensively on the independent circuit. So it made perfect sense, and that made 2 shows this past week that Matt Cardona showed up on, because he made this random appearance on Impact Again, we don't really know what is going on. Was it a one-off deal? Is he about to be signed with Impact? And he had an appearance on Collision accepting the Cope Open challenge from Adam Copeland for the TNT title. So you had Edge effectively defending the TNT title against one of his former Edge heads, Zack Ryder. Very, very cool stuff from Matt Cardona this week. Always been a fan of his. It would be cool to see him get a deal in one of these two companies or even come back to WWE. But at the same time, he has done very good for himself on the independent circuit as his own boss. And as long as he's continuing to do well, he doesn't need the other companies. They need him. We then go backstage and we get a brief promo from Steve Maclin and the Rascals. This then turns into Steve Maclin versus Sabin before turning into a time machine promo backstage. I didn't catch a whole lot of what was going on with Maclin and the Rascals, but Time Machine was definitely showing some dissension. You know, Sabin wasn't really there last week for the Time Splitters in their match. He's focused on his singles match tonight against Maclin. Shelley's kind of mad that Sabin's more focused on singles as opposed to the greater team. So there's definitely a little bit of dissension there. Of course, as of today, if the internet rumors are to be believed, Motor City Machine Guns are free agents. I'm also hearing grumblings that Waller and Theory may be getting pulled from the ladder match. Very interesting. We then had an ABC promo, Ace Austin, Chris Bay. They sound like there's about to be a breakup between these two as well. Not really sure where they're going. Don't want there to be a breakup. You know, Chris Bay was involved in the Mustafa Ali rebellion referendum last week. Ace Austin seemed like he was a little bit jealous. Maybe, you know, he's a little bit like, hey, we should be focusing on the tag titles. What are you doing? So kind of curious to see how things develop here. We then go into the ring and the grizzled young veterans are calling out Cody Deaner. Deaner comes out and he's been given a match from Santino Marella, and somehow this develops into, instead of Deaner versus either one of the GYV, a handicap match. Of course, with the numbers game, the grizzled young vets get the win. No real surprise here. Solid match, though, not going to lie. We then have Gia Miller backstage with Nick Nemeth, and Alex Shelley shows up. And the two of them go back and forth. Nick Nemeth is kind of like, you know, once Rebellion is over and done, man, I'll give you the first shot at the title. And Alex Shelley's like, how about we do this next week? Because, of course, these sets of impacts were pre-taped last weekend at the 2300 in Philadelphia. Gee, what else is happening in Philadelphia? So this match is going to air after Sabin and Shelley have effectively already become free agents and potentially left the company. Much like Trinity's last match, aired after she had already returned to WWE and resumed her role as Naomi. I think that's the whole reason they made this match for next week instead of after Rebellion, is because of the fact that Sabin and Shelley are probably on to other pastures. We then had a Josh Alexander promo. It was all right. I was exhausted, so I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention. I apologize. He was calling out Hammerstone, and instead he gets meted by Tracy Williams. No idea who that is. It was a good match, but it was very predictable. You knew that Alexander wasn't going to lose on this quest to Hammerstone. Alexander hits Williams with the C4 spike. Post-match, Hammerstone comes out and just kind of puts a bit of an exclamation point on Tracy Williams by locking him in the torture rack. We then had a backstage promo with Mustafa Ali and Santino Marella. And Ali is talking about, Jake something, and there needs to be weight limits in the X division. And Santino's telling him, it's not about weight limits, it's about no limits. And he reminds people about some of the bigger X division champions, and Rhino's name comes up. And Ali starts running his mouth about Rhino, and Rhino, of course, is standing right behind Ali as he says all this. So a challenge is made for next week, Mustafa Ali versus Rhino in the 2300, which if you don't know what the 2300 is, it's the old ECW arena in Philly. So you get Ali versus Rhino in the ECW arena. Yes, fucking please, let's go. We then had Speedball Mike Bailey versus Eddie Edwards. Honestly, this was the match of the night for me. Tremendous match between these two men. Eddie Edwards got the victory, although I would have preferred to see Speedball win. We're pushing towards the tag match at Rebellion. Speedball Mountain versus Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers. We then go backstage and we see PCO roaming the halls, screaming "Khan, Monsters Ball." So it looks like PCO wants a Monsters Ball match at Rebellion. Yes, please. We then have a Kazarian promo cutting on EY about Full Metal Mayhem for Rebellion. And he's basically saying that, whatever EY thinks he can do, Frankie Kazarian can up the ante. We then have an AJ Francis Rich Swann promo. Apparently they're now calling themselves First Class. It was what it was. It was your standard, I just turned heel promo. Oh, every time I was down and out, this guy was here for me. You guys weren't here for me. The rest of the locker room wasn't here for me, but this guy was here for me. Whatever. Don't care. Next. We then had a sit-down interview with the Laredo Kid. Very awesome. Very well done there. Main event was Steve Maclin, versus Chris Sabin. This was another really solid match here. Probably my second favorite match of the night, just because I don't really care about Maclin. I know that's sacrilege to some of you TNA people out there, but it just is what it is. I love Sabin, but even he looked like he was a little bit phoning it in almost. Didn't really want to be there. Again, much like I just stated with Shelley, his contract is up. So just kind of going through the motions until he can get out of there, it seems. So that is going to cover everything as far as TNA Impact goes. Going to take a quick commercial break, show you our updated watch-along trailer, and then we will come back and we will get into SmackDown. Stay tuned.
And now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
And we are back. Lots of good stuff coming up as far as watch alongs go across the multiverse of media. Make sure you take note of the dates and stay tuned. Now getting into SmackDown. And SmackDown kicked off with Pretty Deadly taking on the team that I have officially dubbed R hyphen KO squared. Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. So you got RKO and KO. So R hyphen KO squared. This was a fun match to open the show. And honestly, I was sitting here with my daughter watching this because she loves some Pretty Deadly. And she was telling me prior to the show starting how she's so tired of Pretty Deadly always losing. And I was like, well, but if you're going against Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, it's going to be a bad day. And she was like, I know, but she didn't want to hear it. And I was like, but think about this. Randy Orton and Kevin Owens are both challenging Logan Paul at WrestleMania for the US title. So maybe Logan Paul will get involved somehow and cost them the match, and Pretty Deadly will get the victory. What happened here? Logan Paul came from under the ring, laid KO out with the one lucky punch. Elton Prince got the pinfall on KO for the victory. Post-match, Randy Orton found Logan under the ring, but Pretty Deadly chop blocked him, ate a stunner and RKO for their troubles, and Orton then chased Logan to the backstage area, but Logan escaped. Really, really fun match, and I'm glad they let Pretty Deadly win. Because let's be real, Orton and KO aren't going to be a long-term team. They're just not. So you don't want to bury your established teams in the tag division just to give them cheap victories. This made sense. Pretty Deadly won, stayed strong as a team, but they won because Logan Paul cheated and knocked out one of their adversaries, one of their bigger, stronger, by all means should have won adversaries. Great booking on the behalf of Triple H for this one, in my opinion. We then have Io Sky backstage, and she's cutting a Nakamura-esque promo. And what I mean by that is the close-up camera angles, speaking in Japanese with the translations on the screen, not even trying to speak English. And then once the promo is over, we pan out a little bit and we see the person producing the promo, and they're like, okay, we're done. Thank you. And Bailey runs in and just starts attacking Io. Great ferocity there from Bailey. Great execution here. Really enjoyed the way this was done. And I enjoyed the fact that they let Io do what has been working for Nakamura for a while as far as promos go. And yeah, exactly, Walter. We then have the debut of that bitch, Jade Cargill, as she comes to the ring, signs her SmackDown contract with Nick Aldis, and cuts a promo. Man, oh man. Number one, she was looking fine as hell on Friday night. Not that she does it normally, but that red latex outfit, Jesus Christ, woman. And number two, I got chills watching her come out. I am so stoked to see what Jade Cargill can do. I know myself and Walter are two of the only people that really have been supporting this chick since AEW. So I'm anxious to see what's going to happen with her. We then have a Kayla Braxton interview. She's backstage with Dakota Kai and the Kabuki Warriors. Dakota's basically cutting herself a promo on Bianca, getting ready for their main event match this evening. We then have Nick Aldis roaming backstage, and he's approached by Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, as well as AJ Styles. Let me just say that whatever Isla Dawn was wearing as well, god damn. Isla was kind of going off, and it was very hard to understand her as quickly as she was speaking. But it just is what it is. That's kind of been the joke on social media since the promo is, did anybody hear what she said? And everyone was like, I don't think Nick Aldis was paying attention because he was clearly looking down at her cleavage and her boobs. Not that I can blame him, but I mean, you're the general manager at SmackDown. You want to try and maintain eye contact with your talent. I'm just saying. We then had A-Town Down Under versus the Street Profits. Winner of this match would get inserted into the tag team ladder match at WrestleMania. This was just a banger of a match. Judgment Day is backstage scouting this. Karrion Kross attacks Lashley and B-Fab backstage, distracts the Street Profits long enough for A-Town Down Under to get the victory and advance to the ladder match. Post-match, the AOP, the Authors of Pain, put a beat down on the Street Profits. The rest of the Final Testament come out. Lashley comes out battered and beaten up, but nothing really happens there. I'm still waiting for this match to get added at WrestleMania, even if it's just on the pre-show. This feud has been boiling over and deserves to be resolved at WrestleMania. But again, like I discussed when I was discussing Impact, I'm hearing grumblings that A-Town Down Under may be getting pulled from this match. It very easily could be an April Fool's joke, as today is April 1st. There could be some validity to this. I need to go back and check the reports and see when the reports were posted. Because if the reports were posted yesterday, the day before, could be some validity here. Posts are being posted today, could be an April Fool's joke. But take it for what it is, y'all. We then had the Legado del Fantasma come out. Santos is primarily speaking, he wants to thank Dom for his assistance last week. He wants to apologize to Dom for his behavior at WrestleMania 39, because at that point, Santos was in the LWO. He was supporting Ray, and he's now proven that Dom was right all along. LWO come out, and a challenge is made. Santos and Dom versus Ray and the new member of the LWO, Dragon Lee, at WrestleMania. And Carlito kind of standing there like, hey, homie, what about me? I came back to the company and you're not even going to give me a spot at WrestleMania? You're putting this dude, Dragon Lee, over me? Don't be surprised if Carlito turns at WrestleMania. We then have Bianca and Naomi backstage. Naomi basically says that she's got Bianca's back against Dakota. Judgment Day backstage. Apparently, none of them knew that Dom was going out to the ring. Dom was trying to make Mommy proud and the Judgment Day proud, apparently. They want to know if anybody else is keeping any secrets. A little bit of dissension brewing here in the Judgment Day. Not a good look to have going into a major tag team title match at Mania. Not a good look to have with Mommy going into a major women's title match at WrestleMania. And Senor Money in the Bank still has his briefcase. We then have the Legado del Fantasma versus the New Catch Republic. Winner of this match advances to the ladder match as well. Tremendous match here. New Catch Republic gets the victory over Angel and Humberto. Looking forward to this ladder match, and especially if the rumors are true. I still say, I think I was the first one to say it. I've been hearing so many people say it now. I think I was the first one to say this ladder match is going to be how they separate the tag titles. You can go back in the videos here this year, and as soon as the ladder match was announced, I started saying this is how they're going to separate them. So we then get a Raw recap, and we get in depth with the Rock Cody segment, including some footage that was shot after Raw went off the air that hadn't been aired before. We then go backstage and we see Paul Heyman, Jimmy Uso, and Solo Sikoa, and each one of them says that something has been by orders of the tribal chief. The Rock's beatdown on Cody was by orders of the tribal chief. Jimmy doing what he's doing to Jay is by orders of the tribal chief. Jay not making it to WrestleMania because he's got to fight Solo next week on SmackDown by orders of the tribal chief. So for WrestleMania SmackDown next week, the night before night one, Solo Sikoa, Jimmy, and Jay Uso one-on-one on SmackDown. We then have an AJ Styles promo in the ring. LA Knight is disguised as security. The two brawl for a little bit. LA Knight then cuts a promo. Pretty solid, fun stuff here. Had a Tiffany Stratton vignette, which now in hindsight is just even funnier because the last thing Tiffany Stratton mentions in her promo is lip filler. Her and Ash by Elegance have been going back and forth on social media lately. Not even really Tiffany, just Ash by Elegance has been saying some very horrible and negative things about Tiffany. Tiffany hasn't even really responded to what I can see. But I thought it was funny that with all that going on social, and then Ash having had the lip filler gimmick on Impact, Tiffany says about lip filler in her promo, almost as if it's a shot fired. Main event for SmackDown, Bianca Belair versus Dakota Kai. This was a fantastic women's match to close out the show. Bianca got the victory, as we knew she would, but the Kabuki Warriors came out for sorry about that. Kabuki Warriors came out, got the numbers advantage there. Naomi came out to try and even the odds up, but 3-on-2 still wasn't enough. And then Jade Cargill comes out and just destroys Damage Control with 3 moves. Pump kick, sit out power bomb, jaded. 6 women's tag team match has been made for WrestleMania. Of course, that's what the graphic was for the show today. You know, it's so awesome to see these 3 women standing tall and strong together. And while everybody looks at this image and just sees these 3 women standing there, this is what I see. As those 3 women held these 3 titles within the last 12 months. Naomi, Trinity, former Knockouts champion, having lost it in January of this year before she made her return at the Rumble. Jade, longest reigning TBS champion, first TBS champion, 508-day reign before she lost it in May of last year to Chris Statlander. Bianca Belair, longest reigning champion in the modern era before she lost it to Asuka last year. The same weekend that Jade lost her title, by the way. Just a little something to think about. But I see excellence. And I am so looking forward to the 6-woman tag match at WrestleMania. Like, it is not even funny how much I am looking forward to this match. That pretty much covers SmackDown here. You ain't said nothing but a word, Walter. That wraps up SmackDown. I am going to take another break, a little bit of a longer one. I'm going to run our WrestleMania week trailer. Of course, a couple of these things are now on demand. Make sure you check out the greater multiverse of media if you missed any of these shows. But this is what has aired over the last 2 days and what is still to come on our road to WrestleMania.
And now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
And there you have it. Like I said, there is a lot of stuff coming up across the entirety of the multiverse of media this week. We've said it a bunch across our platforms, and I will say it again here. I will probably say it every day until we get through Thursday. If you cannot find something this week to sink your teeth into as a wrestling fan, then get out of the fandom because you are part of the problem. There is so much stuff, such variety of stuff, such diversity of stuff happening this week between GCW, Ring of Honor, NXT, WWE main roster, Stardom, New Japan Sakura Genesis, Those are all pay-per-views, PLEs that I know about that are being presented this week. The first 4 we're covering, the other 2 were not. Then on top of all that, you've got your standard TNA television. you've got NWA television, you've got AEW television, you've got 9 different companies presenting product to you this week. There is no reason to not find something you can get your teeth into, whether you're a fan of professional wrestling or sports entertainment. That all being said, make sure you guys tune in at 11 o'clock Pacific, 2 o'clock Eastern, as I kick off the first review in my series, Casa D18 Studios Reviews, and I'll be discussing Superfan, The Story of Vladimir. I know a lot of people are going to be curious as to why I'm doing a documentary about a fan, but Hulk Hogan himself says it in the documentary. Fans are the heartbeat of pro wrestling. Very simple. That's going to just about wrap it up. Again, I will see you guys at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern for that review. And until then, thank you guys for joining me. I, of course, will see you guys tomorrow as I discuss the Go Home Raw to WrestleMania. Take it easy.
The Jeff Meacham Network's Multiverse of Media. For over 15 years, the recognized symbol of excellence and the standard bearer in coverage of sports and entertainment.
Thank you, JJ. Appreciate you.